First of all, I would like to say happy birthday to my son, and thank you for being here with me. But I would like to say thank you to Terry and to the entire McGraw family for welcoming us so graciously for this event and for taking the time to actually recognize educators. And it is certainly a privilege and an honor to be recognized amongst so many of the distinguished winners, prize winners from the past. And so thank you very much for that. I appreciate it greatly. You know, I was watching a tribute, an awesome tribute, that to Harold W. McGraw, Jr. before I came up here, and he made a statement that he believed that education was the most important thing in every individual's life. And he went on to say that it's sort of our first line of defense as a country and for all of us, and that this prize gives him and this family the opportunity to recognize some of the best aspects of education. And as we all know, public education has been under fire for years. We've been talking about reforming, fixing, changing, lots of things that need to be reformed, fixed, and changed. But tonight is an opportunity to talk about some of the best aspects. And I am privileged to stand before you as one of the positive aspects of education, the evolution and the changes over the last 15 years. So when we commented in the film about, what if, it truly was a what if experience. When we started Florida Virtual School, there was a handful of folks in 2 different districts that had a vision and a dream. Bob Muni, our board chairman, was one of them in one district. But when I was hired, they handed me a 2-page concept paper. I was an elementary principal. I had been an elementary school teacher. So I remember saying to Bob Williams, another one of our board members, I said, "You do realize that the only thing that I remember about high school is my own." And he said, "That's exactly why we would like for you to do this, to take on this effort." So when I came into it, I said, okay, I want to design a school that feels like an elementary school and acts like a private school, where the student is at the center of every decision that we make. So from day one, as a small team of 9 people, took a piece of paper, put the word student in the middle of the table, and I said, okay, guys, what if we designed a school where the student was at the center of every decision that we made? And with the vision of the legislature and the leadership in Florida and Governor Bush, they removed the restrictions and the barriers and said, you don't have to follow any rules. Now, imagine that. So we said, okay, well, what if teachers were available 12 hours a day? Available, not working. And what if they did have cell phones? And what if students could enroll any day of the year? And what if they could move faster if they were able to, and they didn't have to wait for the other kids? Or what if they needed more time? And rather than getting an F on a test on Friday and then starting chapter 2 on Monday, they actually had the opportunity to stop, work with the teacher one-on-one, learn the material, master the material, and then move on. What if? And from that, I think Margaret Mead, to paraphrase, said, a small group of people will change the world. And that's typically the way that it happens. But it was through dedication of focusing on the student. So as we think about reform, I don't like that word. Because to me, reform means fixing something or making something that exists better. We decided that we would reinvent education. We would transform education. We would personalize education. So now all of a sudden, the greatest joy that I have in this role is when you see a student that comes into Florida Virtual School who has not been successful in another traditional format. They don't believe in themselves. They've been behind for 10 years, and they're not going to catch up. But all of a sudden, they have a teacher who builds a relationship first with them, captures their attention, inspires them, builds that level of trust one-on-one, gets to know them as a person. And what our kids say to us is they know their teachers better than they've ever known their teachers in a traditional environment. They begin to believe in themselves because they don't have to ask questions in public. They can't sit in the back of the class. And they now have an opportunity to talk and work with that teacher in a one-on-one environment, and they start to succeed. And you throw in that little flavor of performance-based funding, and that changes behavior dramatically. So if our teachers are not successful and our students are not successful, then we as an organization are not successful. It's amazing. So to give you a little flavor about the kinds of students, because people assume that this is for, kids who are either they don't fit in, they're homeschooled, they're alternative kids, they're incarcerated, all kinds of wild ideas. These kids are your typical students. We have 130,000 Florida students, and they range from kids who are taking advanced placement to kids who are taking credit recovery, learning recovery, to kids who just like the environment or have a scheduling conflict. Imagine a student who is terminally ill, and her first goal, her desire, was to graduate from high school. She would have been the only one in her family to finish high school. She hung on for the longest time, and our teachers worked and worked and worked with her. The day that she actually finished her last class, she told her mom, "I can go now." The next day, she passed away. Or imagine a student that actually spoke to all of our staff last week. His name is Colton, and he said to the whole staff, he said, "Florida Virtual School gave me the greatest gift in my life." He said, "My sister was a Marine, and she died. She was killed in active duty." And he said, "When I came back to Florida Virtual School, I wasn't behind." He said, "I got to pick up where I left off, and I got to move forward, and I wasn't behind." He said, "I remember being ill for a week when I was in traditional school, and it took me a month to catch up, and I almost did not pass." Or imagine the student who took PE with us. Yes, PE online. It's one of our best. I told this story today. Only 30% of PE is about exercise. The rest is about learning and physiology in your body. So this particular student was taking a walk with his mom, which they did together as part of the exercise program. This child had quite overweight. He lost about 40 pounds during the course of this course. His mother started to have chest pains and actually was going into a heart attack. And he actually, because of what he had learned in the PE class, knew how to take her pulse, knew how to check her vital signs, was able to call 911, and according to the paramedics, probably save her life. So we believe at Florida Virtual School that school should be a verb, not a noun, and that learning should take place everywhere in your life, and that kids should love to learn because it's relevant and they can feel success with it. So with that, I would like to say thank you to my amazing staff, 1,500 of the most wonderfully dedicated, passionate educators that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. I would like to thank my board of trustees, who have been just awesome and have paved the way for us to just move forward and to make a difference, and my board chairman, who is here, Bob Muni. And then I would also just like to say a huge thank you to the Florida legislature and leadership for being bold and allowing us to break all the rules. And then finally, my family, who I am so fortunate to have so many of them with me tonight. They are the love of my life, the reason I do what I do. My husband, who, if not for him, I wouldn't have taken this crazy job. That's another story. And oh, by the way, I met him when I was 13. And I tackled him. That's another story. But and then certainly, finally, my mom and dad could not be with us here tonight. And I really wanted them here. I wasn't going to do that. So I just want to say thank you to them. They built an awesome home for us, a happy home, always love in our home. My mom was my first teacher. She did not work outside the home, but boy, did she work inside the home. She taught me to cook. She taught me to sew. Back in the day when I had time, she taught me to clean. I clean well. And then my dad, he's just a wonderful man. He started out in the mailroom of a bank and became the CEO and retired from that bank, the very same bank, and a man of incredible integrity who taught me how to love the people around me and care about everything I did and know that everything that I did would matter. So I'll end with my favorite quote, which is Confucius says that find a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I have had that privilege. So thank you so much. Thank you to the judges and thank you to the McGraws. This is such a privilege. It's a tremendous honor. Thank you.